Okay, and we are a go. So we are actually recording this now. For whatever reason, it is transcribing me. Not sure if you see that in the chat. Let me. Oh, here we go.
So there's one guest.
Yeah. Yay! Hi there, Sharon.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
We just got started, and I just want to let you know we are recording this. So we're recording for posterity, and we're also recording this because Kritsana is going to go back and have this as a resource later. So when great ideas are shared, he can go back and just use that to refresh his memory in case any details are needed. Yeah, and also we're going to be posting this online. So by online, we're going to be posting it on our municipal YouTube site and also on sharing the link on our Participate with Buffalo page, which I will share later. And welcome to the Public Art Bench program community engagement session. And the focus today is on the community of Anzac. So you may have seen in social media that we're also doing another session focused on Sapre Creek, which will be held on Monday evening. I believe it's at 6 p.m. So before we get really rolling into this, I would just like to take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the land in which we live, learn, work, and play is Treaty 8 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Dene, and the unceded territory of the Métis. All righty. So I hope you can see in your screens here a bit of an agenda. So I'll just do a little overview of this real quick. We've done our welcome. We're going to do a quick introduction of the project team, talk a little bit about the session purposes and outcomes, how you can participate. We're going to share some examples of public art benches in Alberta specifically. And as you can see in the bottom right, we have a few benches for your viewing pleasure. We're going to talk about the character of your community, in this case, Anzac. Do a little activity called the Trip Advisor, which is a clever name I came up with last week. Then we're going to meet Kritsana. Some of us already know Kritsana, fortunately, but we're going to get Kritsana to talk a little bit about his artwork and a little bit about himself. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A in case you have any questions you would like to ask about or learn more about. And Sharon Heading is with us today, which is great because my understanding is that Sharon is the chair of the Public Art Committee. Is that correct, Sharon?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Super excited about this bench program. Really excited. Can't wait to see what comes out of it. I know Kritsana is going to give us something absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And for those who might be viewing this after the fact, after we recorded this, the Public Art Bench program is a public art project. So yeah, so that's great to have the chair of the committee here. Okay, next slide. I'm just going to keep going on here. Oh, actually, before we get into too far into this, I just want to say that all ideas are welcome in this conversation. We are focusing on Anzac today. However, feel free to share your ideas, your thoughts, even if you're not a resident of Anzac. You don't necessarily need to be born and raised in Anzac to participate. We just want to make sure that feedback is related to that community because ideas and inspiration are going to help Kritsana create a public art bench that reflects the community of Anzac. So I just wanted to just send a little reminder of that. Okay. So now we'll do some introductions. Sharon, you know me. My name is Will Collins, and I am a public engagement strategist for the RMWB. And we have a few other folks here from the project team, and I'm going to invite them to just briefly introduce themselves. So Faithia.
Yes, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Faithia Dearden, and I'm a coordinator with the Community and Protective Services Department with the RMWB, and I'm also the project lead for the Public Art Bench. Thank you.
Nicole?
Hello, Nicole Hinks. I am an advisor with Indigenous and Rural Relations.
All right, and Kritsana.
Hi, my name is Kritsana. I am an art instructor at the Suncor Energy for the performing art, and also local artist slash stay-home dad, take care of the children at home.
My God, what a big job. Holy crap.
Yeah. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier, we have Sharon Heading here. Great friend of mine, wonderful human being, chair of the Public Art Committee. Happy to have you. Okay, so let's keep on trucking. All right, so talking a little bit about our session purpose and outcomes for today. So your feedback will help inspire 2 local artists to create a unique park bench, one for Anzac and one for Sapere Creek, that will be tailor-made to express the character of each community. And like I said earlier, today's session is focused on Anzac with the artist for that project, who is Kritsana. And there is another artist that is focusing on Sapere Creek Estates, and that's Amy Keller-Remp, and we're going to be meeting with her next week. And looks like we have another guest, so I'm just going to admit another guest here and give them a moment to join us. And oh, excellent. Welcome, Rose. Happy for you to join us here today. We're just getting started. My name is Will Collins, and I'm kind of heading up this engagement session. And I was just going a little bit over the overview of what we're doing today, which is getting feedback to help 2 local artists to create public art benches that are tailor-made for the communities of Anzac and Sapere Creek. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the Public Art Bench program. We're going to get your feedback. We're going to learn about your community of Anzac today. We're going to inspire the bench artists, Kritsana. We're going to answer your questions and talk a little bit about how you can participate. So in today's session, in the top of your Teams meeting, I guess, menu, you should see a little text bubble, kind of looks like what you would see in a comic, a little dialogue bubble. That's the conversation. So if you click on that, you should get a little menu on the right side of your screen, and I encourage you to jump right in and type in your comments, or if you see a microphone icon near the top right, if there's a line through it, that means you're muted. If there is not a line through it, that means you can talk away and jump right into the conversation, and I encourage you to do so. Okay, so all ideas are welcome. I encourage you to be creative. We'll be artistic, so your ideas can be anything from sharing, if you have a picture of Anzac you want to share, or some artwork you've made that's inspired by Anzac, or if you want to talk about things that you think are reflective of the beauty and the culture and the community of Anzac. I encourage you to share all of those things. All ideas are welcome, verbal and nonverbal. Okay. So next, I'm going to ask Faithia to jump up to the virtual microphone, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the Public Art Bench program.
Yes, quickly just do a quick overview of the Public Art Bench program. So in December 2021, last year, Public Art Wood Buffalo awarded 2 local artists to work with rural communities to create a custom-made park bench. The park bench design selected will be duplicated in the Kiam community park location, creating 2 sister benches. 1 bench from each artist will remain in the rural community, and the sister bench will be installed in the Kiam Community Park, that new park that we're building on Franklin and Main. And just a quick for those who might not know what public art is, or might want a example of public art really is art that occupies various public spaces and is free and accessible to everyone. It can be constructed using any media, form, function, and meaning, and it is typically created through a public process such as this one. It may be fixed or freestanding, permanent or temporary, and it can be in an internal or external setting. Now, what really is the role of public art? There are various roles for artwork placed in public spaces, and just to name a few, it adds visual quality to a built environment, demonstrating urban planning and design strategy. It also increases cultural awareness, and it provides new jobs for freelance artists such as Amy and Kritsana by public commissions. And it's visually marking a site or creating a sense of pride. And I'll just quickly jump into the goal, the project goal. So the goal is simple. It's to create 4 original park benches that highlight the importance of arts and heritage and broaden the community experience of the arts and contribute to placemaking and civic pride. And this project is coming from the culture plan, Wood Buffalo Culture Plan that we did in 2019. And we are following up and following through by doing this project. So we will be interacting with the community to understand the existing sense of place and how it might be enhanced with a piece of public art. Now, with reference to this site, there's 3 sites for the Community Park Bench project. The Vista Ridge Park would be one site in Sapre Creek, and the other site would be the Anzac Community Garden and Park. And the final site is the Kiam Community Park. In terms of budget, the total awarded for this project is $20,000 per artist or designer, and the expected budget per bench is $10,000, which include the fabrication of the piece. In terms of our schedule, currently we are doing the engagement piece, and we're hoping to hear from the community of Anzac to kind of get their thoughts and inspiration on what they would like to see in the community. So we're doing this piece over the winter, and we're looking to do the fabrication and installation in the spring, summer, and perhaps installation in the Kiam Park in the fall. I think that's it. On to you, Will.
All righty. Thank you, Faithia. Does anybody have any questions for Faithia before we proceed? No? Okay. And Rose, just for your information, I mentioned this before you jumped in the meeting. I just wanted to let you know that we are recording this session today. And the reason for that is so that Kritsana, our artist, I'm going to hold off on that and let Jennifer Vardy into the room, and then I'll let everyone know. Again, hi, Jennifer. Welcome to the meeting. I was just telling the group that we are actually recording this session today, and the reason is so that Kritsana can go back and just look at the meeting and make sure he didn't miss any details or feedback from the community. So Faithia has just finished giving us a bit of an overview of the project. And Jennifer, if you have any questions, feel free to jump into either the chat and type it in the side, or you can just jump in over the microphone and shout out your comments. All right, so proceeding forward. All right, so there are a number of ways you can participate. So I just mentioned 2, is either jumping onto the microphone and joining the conversation or typing into the chat. This engagement session is actually one of the ways you can engage, is just meeting with us and talking about the project. On February 28th, which is Monday at 6 p.m., we're going to be meeting with Amy Keller-Remp in a similar format just to this to talk about the Sapre Creek project. You can also jump onto the municipal sort of Participate Wood Buffalo page, which is, I guess, a sister page to the municipal website. And you can actually input your comments and ideas through that web platform, which I'll show you in just a moment. You can email us at participate@rmwb.ca, or you can give a call to Pulse, and we encourage you to share stories, ideas, photos, artwork, songs, poems, whatever. So I know that Jen has a very talented husband who's a great photographer. If Nick has any photos of Anzac that might lead to inspiring this project, we encourage you to share through our Participate email or contact me directly. Okay, so I'm going to show you our Participate Wood Buffalo web page website, I guess, because it's a really cool platform for engaging with the community, and anything that you feel like you want to engage with, any project. For example, right now the MDP is a big project that we're engaging upon. There's a number of different projects. I think we just did policing priorities. Anyways, you can go on to participate.rmwb.ca, and there's a number of projects. This project page is actually called Public Art Connection, because we're planning to create like a central location for all things public art. So for artists to connect to opportunities or artist calls, things like that. So more details to come. But as you scroll down, you'll see the Public Art Bench program. So here you can do a little quick poll to talk about, what do you think about public art? You can see information and pre-register for engagement sessions. You can go down here and meet the artists and learn more about each artist who's doing the different projects. Up here, there's a describing your community tab, which basically allows you to do just a quick little survey and share a few images and phrases or ideas that describe your community. You can jump into a discussion and share what you would want visitors to know about your community. So this is a little bit of a longer answer. Maybe it's a story, maybe an anecdote, things like that. Or if you want to share inspiration, like a photo, a song, poem, things like that, you can share it here. And as you can see, we have one place for each community. Further up on the right, we have pictures of some public art benches we're going to look at in a few minutes here, and some links to a couple of web pages that might be relevant. And if you have questions, you click on here, you'll get some information. So this is our Participate Wood Buffalo page, and each project is a little bit different. And we encourage everyone to participate and take part in municipal projects. Okay, so next one, we're going to talk about public art benches. So here are some examples of public art benches around Alberta. So some are in Calgary, some are in St. Albert, and I believe one is in Red Deer, all done by the same artist, Karen Ho Fat Lee. And I think maybe Kritsana met her later last year for the artist information sessions. So I'm going to open it up to some discussion and stop talking so much and ask you what you think. Do you have a favorite bench that you see of these 4 benches? And does anything stand out that you either like or dislike? So anybody, please feel free to jump into the conversation.
Can I start off? Is that all right?
Of course.
First of all, super excited that Kritsana is doing this, because I absolutely love the way his mind works, and I've seen some of the stuff he's done for Ignite, and I just know it's going to be something really exciting. So I wear 3 hats here. One, I'm here as the chair of the Public Art Committee because I love this particular project. The other is in my real paying job as partnerships manager for Arts Council. Our rural art support program falls under my portfolio. So I have Nick Vardy and Donna Obashon, 2 absolute superstars doing work in the Indigenous community. And before Nick and Donna came on board, I spent some time in Anzac, and I know it's an amazing community. It's a little mini multicultural hub. So there's 468 is there. There's the regular community there. It's an incredibly diverse, rich community. It's right on the water. I absolutely love Anzac. I get out there every chance I get, and I think Winter Carnival might even be coming up soon. So I'm really hoping that whatever Kritsana comes up with is going to reflect the amazing diversity that's in that community. I mean, I think all of these benches that we see are lovely. And I just know that, maybe Kritsana will take a lead from that, or maybe he'll just see something amazing in the community. It'll be something that make these look boring. That's all I want to say is I really feel that Anzac is a unique community within our community, and I'm hoping and know that whatever Kritsana does will reflect that diverse, our Indigenous, First Nations, Métis communities, as well as everyone else that comes together to make that community so amazing. And I'll shut up now.
Thanks, Sharon. I think that's awesome. You hit on a really important, well, a few important terms, but one of the terms I really liked was diversity. So just wanted to highlight that. And I also want to flag that Jennifer Vardy has her hand up. So please jump on in.
Hello, hello. Thanks for hosting, Kritsana. Thank you. I'm excited to see your artwork. I want to start out with a question about the RMWB's capacity for engagement. Sharon had a really great point about even if we don't have specific ideas, if the artist can be influenced by the people who live around the area, not just their ideas, but their, you know, their culture, the way they act, the way they talk, to be a representative of who we are in art, because it is so unique. So I wanted to hear more about what the plan is to engage the community. Are we looking exclusively virtual? Or is there a possibility we can get the artist and throw him in some of our local community events so he can observe?
I think this is a great question, Jennifer. Thanks for asking. And you know, we're coming through a bit of a transition now. I don't know if transition is the right word for it, but we've been really focused on COVID and isolation and keeping each other safe for the last couple of years. And we talked a number of times about how we could make this very inclusive and very sort of tactile for the community, because you're right, it is about the culture. This is why we want to kind of make it open to all types of feedback. And because it's very artistic, we were hoping it would be maybe artistic type of submissions and sharing art and inspiration in that sense. We're going to go through our engagement process until March 9th, and we're going to see what that feedback looks like and how sort of engaged we were able to make, or I guess how many opportunities we were able to make for people and how much participation we saw, and then revisit. As an organization, we're just sort of pivoting right now and figuring out what that pivot looks like. So myself, I'm just kind of waiting for further direction from senior leaders to see what that looks like, so that we're keeping in mind the safety of everyone and you know, the comfort levels of everyone. But ideally, it would be nice to get out into every community. Maybe Faith, you can add on to this after just one more point here, is that this is actually the pilot project, and Sapere Creek Estates and Anzac are the first two communities of this. But I believe the target is to be inclusive of all the rural communities in the coming years. And what that looks like is still sort of under construction, I believe, but maybe Faith, you can further define what that might look like.
Yeah, really getting out into the community to hear their thoughts on a piece is very, very important, because we don't want to just do a piece and just drop it in the community. We want the community to take some pride in it and to truly create something artistic that, you know, they can look at and say, you know what, this represents this is what we did at this time. You were going through this, that sort of a thing. So we are really hoping to get buy-in from the community, and participation is vital. So yes.
I think I'd also like to maybe add to this, without prescribing, but just opening the floor to opportunity. I know that Karen Hofat-Lee, whose pictures we're looking at here, she has designed some benches. She actually, when she was fabricating these and installing them in the communities, there was actually an opportunity for residents of the community to participate on a like a tactical level and help with painting and installation. And ideally, we would think that would be pretty excellent. What that looks like specifically is still sort of under construction as we move forward, but I think Faithia would agree that the team is open to opportunities. I hope that answers your question, Jennifer.
It does, and I just wanted to flag a very important note that you made, that the pilot project is happening in Anzac and in Zachary Creek. I love that we're piloting something in rural first. It's often urban who sees the pilot projects, and then our rural communities are kind of an afterthought or not planned initially. So it's wonderful to see that we're going to be the first, because often Anzac does not, and Zachary Creek does not get to say that. So that's wonderful, and thank you. I'm gonna open a question specifically to Rose here. Rose Pratt is a part of one of our boards in Anzac. Rose, would your board be open if the artist came during? I see there's a senior walk event happening. If they came and just kind of talked casually, not an RMWB event, but if they joined, do you think that would be okay? I'm taking over the meeting. I apologize. This is why you don't invite me places.
No, this is excellent. Please, I encourage you and Rose both to jump right in.
Yes, in Anzac, we are going to start a walk there March 1st. And that might be a good time to introduce this, because a lot of people aren't, I think, even aware of this project. So, and I think it would be a good start to get other people involved.
This is excellent news. Thank you for sharing this. I'm just taking some notes about this right now.
I'm gonna go ahead, Rose.
I was just going to say, we have another project that we have planned. It's to do with a commemorative wall for the old church that was there, and we wanted to have a commemorative wall regarding the old church and the church bell and some of the stained glass that was on the windows. So that's another project that I think was going to be happening in 2022.
Yes, I'm not sure if Faithia or Nicole have further to add to that, but we are aware of that project and being very conscious of making sure that all of those pieces are included in the park and there's space for everything. Because there's also a community garden, of course, and I know that I'm sure that's very important to residents as well.
Well, that's another part.
Another story? Yeah.
Yeah.
Another story for another time. Hey, Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on March 1st, you mentioned, is it the a seniors walk a community seniors walk on March 1st? Is that the event you were referring to earlier?
Yeah, it's happening at the rec center at 11 o'clock. Is that the one you're referring to, Jen?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. Taking some notes of that, and we'll follow up with our team after that to see how we might be able to participate in that. And now I see Kritsana has his hand up. I'd like to invite Kritsana.
Sorry, I did book the family trip to take the kid down to Edmonton. I'm not going to be there on March 1st. I'll come back on I think on Wednesday. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Just because maybe the artist can't get out there, that means, one of us could maybe come out there and at least talk about the project and answer any questions and get your feedback, because really that's what this is all about.
I was just going to add, I have seconded Will into the Anzac community page. So Will, I will tag you in all of the posters of the upcoming events. So then you're up to date with them. And then you guys can choose between yourselves if it's one that you want to go to. There's lots.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I did see there's a few things. Currently, we're scheduled to engage up to March 9th, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can't be flexible. We just might have to revisit a few things and adjust some logistics, but definitely the priority is to get information from the community. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, our biggest event is coming up, the winter play, as you said, and that's actually a couple days, the 11th and 13th of March. So if there is a capacity to maybe extend it a little bit, I'm pretty sure all of Anzac will be out for the dog sled races, Mad Miles, And Kritsana, you'll really get an understanding if you were to attend, of these larger community events about who Anzac is as a community, not just individually First Nations or Métis, but how we all come together authentically. And we do it mostly through the land.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so that was actually a really fruitful discussion. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything else to our discussion about the benches. If not, I'm happy to move on to the next topic, which we keep kind of touching on anyways. So unless anybody else has anything to contribute, I'm going to move along. All right. So you mentioned a few things, Jennifer, in your when you were informing us about these community events and how you're connected to the land. So I just want to hear a little bit more about what you think, what the first 3 or 4 words might be when you hear us when you hear me say the word Anzac. What does that mean to you? So I heard community, I heard land, I've heard diversity. Are there any other examples you might throw in there?
Generation. We have a lot of families who have lived here. Their grandparents live down the street and they're raising their children here, and their children will live the next road down. So the generations, the roots are very deep in Anzac. So yeah, I won't take up all the space. So generation would be mine.
Thank you. And Rose, did you want to add anything, or Sharon?
I think for me, the community of Anzac, which is a hamlet, it's named Anzac after when the first train came through, and they named the railroad station. And that has an impact on me because my family farmed here years ago.
And what did your family farm in the Anzac area?
Well, it was cows, horses, whatever's
okay.
on the farm. Chickens.
Awesome. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I see Teresa Buller is typing. I'm just going to hold on a second while she's typing. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Teresa says that's exactly what I was thinking. Transportation and train. All right. Any other words or phrases anybody want to contribute?
Rose would probably know more than I would, but there was a story about off of Stony Mountain when there was a military base around, that there's some sort of helicopter buried somewhere. So there is like this kind of military type of, I can't remember the whole story, but there is history besides cultural history being, a First Nation Indigenous Métis. There's also history with conflict and war and that more.
I thought I always thought it was the for some reason I want to say Australian military, but there's more history to that name as well. You're right, relative to the military and some kind of an air base or something like that. I remember
the 800 line, it was called. It was the RCAF, Royal Canadian Air Force.
Yeah.
And they had quite a setup up there. You'd think it was a little town. I have photos and all that. And that's where the church came from, was up there at Stony Mountain. They donated it to Anzac because the one church we had burnt, and then they donated that to the one group of people who gave it to the community of Anzac. And that came from Stony Mountain. And that's why we want to commemorate a wall for the bell and the stained glass windows and the steeple. We have that in storage.
Oh. I'm just taking some notes here. Well, this is excellent. This is such a fruitful discussion. I'm excited. Thank you. And if anybody else has anything to add, otherwise I'm going to move to the next activity discussion topic. Okay. So you've all, maybe many of you have heard of TripAdvisor. So TripAdvisor is sort of a web platform where people can, tell us about their trip to a certain location and maybe give us some tips about where to go or some highlights. So we're going to do a little bit of an activity about thinking about what you would want a visitor to know about Anzac if they were visiting your community. And so, for example, for me, just to set the stage, a few years ago, I had a friend visiting me from New Zealand. So he came all the way to Fort McMurray area from New Zealand, and I thought, well, for sure, I have to take him to Anzac. And the reason being was that, Anzac is named after the Australia-New Zealand Army Corps, as Teresa has noted in the chat. So I thought, well, I have to bring a Kiwi out there to check it out. So do you have any stories or anything you would want a visitor to know about Anzac? And I'm just going to open that up to the table. Feel free to chime in, anyone.
Anzac, we started having Anzac days in the early 1960s, and we would have just like a picnic, canoe races, and different sports activities on the lake right in Anzac here in the hamlet. And just because we just wanted to celebrate Anzac days. And we did not have no Australians here, but I understand where the name came from is that the Australians were surveyors that came to Canada and did some surveying. And that's where the name came from. You
Awesome,
could find
thank
that in the University of Alberta.
Okay.
I have two. So my first one being Z-Bar, formerly the Burger Bar, formerly the Duck Inn, has been a part of Anzac for a very, very long time. I don't know if they still have it. I can't remember, but they had the Mammoth Burger where if you can eat the whole burger in under 15 minutes, you get it for free. So like kind of gimmicky, fun stuff. But also the food is fantastic. Like it is very much a staple. The Z-Bar is that kind of place where you can go by yourself and see 5 of your friends at any given time. So that's one. The second was I lost my train of thought. The Z-Bar. Anzac Community School. For those of you who don't know, is a part of a pilot project for land-based learning. So only, I believe, 5 schools were given grants across Alberta to make land-based learning.
You're frozen there, folks.
Can you still hear me?
I can now. There was a little bit of a glitch, but I think we're back.
Okay, my apologies. Anzac Community School was a select few of schools within Alberta that got a grant for land-based learning to support land-based learning as we would support math or English or any of those. So now it's a key component in the school, and it's one of the only across Alberta, which is pretty unique. So not only will our students be equipped to solve math problems, but they'll also be equipped to learn and survive on the land. So that's pretty unique.
That's awesome. I was just there yesterday too. I wish I had known when I was there.
We need volunteers next week for fishing, so I'll send you the info.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to advise us for their next trip?
Actually, the oddest thing, because this summer when I was out with Nick doing some photos that we needed for Arts Council, I'm from the East Coast and I was a windsurfer most of my life. And obviously I did not take my boards to the prairies with me, but there sitting on the shores of the park in Anzac was a windsurfer. And someone was out for the day. I was super psyched. They weren't looking. I really wanted to just take it and go, but or find out who owned it so I could look pitiful and they might let me go. But anyway, the things you don't expect to see, in a rural community in Alberta is a state-of-the-art windsurfer on a beautiful lake. So for what it's worth, just an interesting thought. I still might find that person.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I feel like everybody's had a chance to contribute some great stories and trip advice. So I'm going to move along, and I'm going to pass along the virtual microphone to our artist, Kritsana, who is going to take a few minutes to just talk about his artistic style and background, and just so we know a little bit more about him as an artist contributing to this project. So Kritsana, I pass along to you.
Hi. Thank you to let me know a lot of things about Anzac. Actually, it's helped me a lot to get inspiration right now. I have been to Anzac before a lot of time with my kid to play, to swim there. I feel what you're saying. I'm always standing right there to look at my kid play with the water. I feel the wind. I feel the friendly people, and I have been do the workshop during like after the fire 2016 with the community there, and I know the sea bar too. I went to get the food there. And yeah, I went to do a painting landscape painting with the people there before, and the information is really helpful. Anyway, I'm talking about myself. I'm immigrant in Canada in 2011 in Ontario, and I moved to Fort McMurray in 2013 and started a job as an art instructor at Suncor Energy, the performing art. I taught 6 years old to adult in the Foundation of Art and Skill Art. So yeah, this is me here since 2016 in Fort McMurray. And my background is BFA in the major sculpture, minor composition art.
And for those who aren't aware, Kritsana originally came from Thailand. Did you grow up in Bangkok? Or?
I grew up in Bangkok, yes. I'm half Chinese. I'm kind of grew up in multicultural, like Buddhism, Hindu, Chinese. Like I'm mixed a lot of things, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I'll move to the next slide and we can share some of your artwork.
Yeah. So this slide is the first on the left is installation for Ignite. So it's the first piece of I'm work for Ignite. So I did use graphic art, or like kind of drawing on the computer and creating a graphic with the 7 of face. But in the face is have a different art or different culture. Is the kind of represent of multicultural of Fort McMurray, represent 7 continental of the world that all we are together. Yeah. And the second piece is kind of experimental. Is these 2 foxes that were playing. It's kind of represent of my 2 kids. I have 2 children, so they were playing, and I kind of just do some woodcut and print on a Japanese paper.
Yeah, I think that's important to note the mediums that you're also using. So, for example, painting, carving.
Art that I'm using it in now. I do so many things. I did installation. I did printmaking. Sometime I did painting and sculpting at the same, like have sculpture elements together with the painting. Also, I did a lot of landscape painting, and I have some of the work is on the commercial art gallery in Edmonton for sale. I have a couple exhibit there and here and there sometime. Yeah.
Thank you.
I work with a lot of mixed media, I would say. Yeah. So this is my early work when I was the last year of university. I worked sculpture when this is a studio that we work alongside with the fabricator and the technician. So I have a design come up and I make the what is it called, modeling. That time I don't know about computer design yet. So I did like kind of cutting a paper to create a model and work with alongside with the fabricator or the technician to create my body of work. So this work, I have inspiration from the pop art, or like and like Andy Warhol or Jeff Koons, and I use some object that represent a human that have connection, engaging. Like that time I have a girlfriend that I'm kind of in love, so I'm kind of create the chair that kind of dancing under the umbrella and sit down, kind of like human. Sometimes how to connect human to human. It's not just only the body. It's not just only the conversation. Sometimes it's including as an object. Like you can example, like you invite someone to have a tea together. You invite someone to have a drink at home. It's including all the object, and I use an object as the symbol to represent like the society as the human. So that what I'm working in my piece of work, I did a lot of symbolic art. Yeah, I use a lot of symbolic to represent something. Yeah.
Oh, I see Jennifer has her hand up. Feel free to go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that is for the community of Anzac in terms of symbolic items. I'm looking at the bench previously a couple of slides back of like the flowers, and it's really like vibrant and bright and things like that. Beautiful work, but I know it would not fit within the aesthetic of Anzac. So and I appreciate that you understand that it needs to symbolize a community. And for us, it really does need to be functional. There's a lot of I mean, when you go to the day use, instead of us having, you know, stairs or things by our playground, we have 2 or 3 tires that they just cut out and put on the ground.
My kid climbed on that. I remember. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. I remember.
Yes, the kids love it.
I love it.
And that's
but actually, Jennifer, the idea of why I'm gonna create it in my mind, so it's gonna be something. It's monumental, like symbolic monument that represent something that I observing from you guys, and also functional at the same time. It's not gonna be just the bench just sits down. I feel like it will have some element that represent some meaning in the community. Also, some meaning that represent of like the First Nation or the community there too. Almost like a mix of multicultural, because a lot of my body of work in for memory, like the public art that I did, it's a lot of them is represent like the multicultural and the words of the community. Yes.
And I think it's sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Thank you. So good. I'm very happy that we're on the same page, and I'm happy that you have that experience of being an Anzac and seeing your kids utilize these, recycled items and see how key they are. I think that'll really help.
Yeah, we like the Gregor Lake is a bit busy, so every time we go to the lake, we go to the Anzac.
Exactly. You're like a local already. It's what we all do.
And I think it's really important to note that a public art bench doesn't necessarily need to look like what we would think of as a typical bench. So I think those example photos we saw earlier exemplify that a little bit. But this is great dialogue. I'm going to move on to the next one, which is also pretty cool.
So this is another one. So there's a high heel. It's my work, again, based on pop art, Jeff Koons, or I got the inspiration from like the era of the pop art, the use object, large scale, something I did. This is the metal work. It's the metal sheets that creating a shape of the big high heel shoe. The inside of the high heel shoe is I sculpt the piano, like a little piano in there. It's like the song, like when you invite someone to come to dance or in the dance floor or engaging together, on the stair. Actually, you don't see the detail of the stair right there. Is a kind of a mirror. It's like a mirror, glass mirror. Like if you see on the top, I don't have the elevation view that time. I have one camera, like a film camera, to take the picture of mine. Anyway, like on the top, you can see the reflection of if you put this piece in the space, you will get the reflection in the space into the mirror. And also the shoes that dancing on the top of it. The shoe I sculpted with the fiberglass. Yeah.
I think that you mentioned something really important, Kritsana, is that space is also an influence on this project. A few days ago we were talking, and you said how space. Yeah. You want to make the bench, have a relationship to the space.
So I'm gonna explain about this piece of work, earlier work of mine in sculpture. I didn't do sculpture for a long time, especially like the last piece. So because I have a small house, I don't have a space. I paint a lot. So anyway, why I create this, because I grew up in the big city. The big city, like you will see building, object, people hang out in the places. Like retail, fashion and thing. That what I observe. I grew up in the big city, so that's why my work, it kind of represent in the space or environmental what I'm growing up with. So I use that and to create a body of work. You will see how it changed when I moved to Canada. Yeah.
That's great. And so Teresa has a question. She's wondering what the dimensions are of this, and I can see in the photo.
This one is 2 meter, 2.10 meter. It's pretty big, long.
Okay.
The height around 1 meter. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, moving along.
So this is Ignite that I get involved in Fort McMurray. The left is we call Origami. So I kind of use some Asian influence. So I'm from Asia, so I use a kind of origami form to create some symbol of like the boat and the mountains and the houses is elements. Like so, like it's kind of represent of the people that traveling around the world, that we settle here, we move, we try to find a place as a home that to stay together. Yeah, that the first piece. And the second piece I call the bird house. So the bird is kind of represent of like, again, like human being, like mankind that living in the same in under the same sun, that the sun that give us energy, give us the food, give us like life, happiness. Yeah.
That's
My
fantastic.
work in Fort McMurray is always focused on, again, like I live in environmental that multicultural. I know I teach and I taught a lot of kids that came from different places, like from BC, from India, from Kenya, from so many places, right? And when I create a body of work, I was thinking about that. Yeah.
So a couple of times the term Ignite has come up in the conversation. For those who aren't aware of Ignite, who might be watching this later, that is a program for getting art illuminated installed. And I'm not sure if maybe Faith, you want to elaborate on that just briefly so anybody watching might understand a little bit better about the program. Faith, are you? You're. I'm hearing it. There we go.
Terry's available, Terry Bella really is the person that knows Ignite inside out.
Okay.
That is correct.
Sorry.
She will be able to shed a lot more on that. And it's right across Alberta, actually.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm a little bit sick today, so that's why I've been muted. But Ignite is a 10-day temporary public art exhibition, and it originated in Fort McMurray in, I think the first year was 2014. And so we've done six editions of Ignite, and yeah, it's a temporary light-based art exhibition. So, and we've been lucky enough to have Kritsana showcase some of his work in, I think, 4 of the 6, which is pretty incredible. So, and working with him closely, I know that he's a fabulous artist to work with. So the community of Anzac is very lucky to have the opportunity to work with him. So thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. I apologize for getting you to speak while you're not feeling super hot, but thanks for telling us about Ignite. Okay, so moving right along here. Okay, there we go.
So this is the Milwaukee project that's a fox that installation at the what is it, like the trail at Mac Island. So one of my fox have been washed away with the flood. So this is the new one that I creating it. Creating the fox is based on, again, is about the journey of people that traveling around and try to find a place to settle as home. I represent like the origami boat as my background as like Asian kind of symbolic, but at the same time it's kind of represent the human being, how we travel, how we find a place to live peacefully. So, and also we live under the ancestor, under like the spirit of the land, and you see the bird, the sun, all over the place, kind of represent of the ancestor. I'm a Buddhism. I grew up to practice with Buddhists. I went to be a monk when I was 20 years old before. Everywhere I go, every place I go, I always respect I will praying before I leave, or I praying before I sleep. So I will praying to the landlord. I praying for the ancestor that protecting us. So that what we believe. Yeah. That's how I creating this work. So this piece, you can see both sides is like these sides kind of have the moon, another sides have the sun, that we live in 2 sides of the spiritual world, the dark and the light. Yeah, kind of yin yang in Chinese. Yes, blend in together.
Thank you, Kritsana. That's a wonderful description, and I think that you're touching on a lot of the themes that have come up in the discussion today and the feedback.
Yes, I was
that's great.
smiling, like, wow, this is it's also my background too. Like, it's pretty good. Yeah, thank you so much
Great.
for all of information.
Does anybody have any questions, or are ready to move on to the next pieces of artwork that Kritsana has done? All right, here we go.
This is exquisite, though. It's one of my favorites. I love the foxes.
Okay, this is the early work that you see at my back, like there, right there, at the back, right there. So this again, like after I moved to Canada, I did a lot of landscape painting before. I have been sold a lot of landscape number of time, piece of in Edmonton and somewhere else. But anyway, this is my recent work. So in the first piece early when I was young, I was working on with object, subject, retail, like something like fancy, something is non-nature at all. But when came back to Canada, like live in remote area in Ontario, I live in the bush, like by the lake. So I have a lot of time to thinking about myself, how the nature is important to me. I always going out to work and smelling a gas, in Bangkok, like really busy, traffic jam, everything, And then I moved to Canada. Like my wife, her parents have the private property in Ontario. So I live in the nature. I see a deer walk across. I see a black bear. I see so many nature, and I start feel the nature at that time, and I start painting landscape. But now relate to that. So I try to create a body of work. This body of work creating during the pandemic. So I had a COVID before. All my family had COVID before, pretty tough time. But anyway, I was thinking about like the Buddhism ethos or philosophy about like the circle of life. So in our world, we had like like a predator and prey. Predators kind of hidden as a prey. A beauty can disguise the true nature. You can see like the form of the snake and the butterfly together. You see the flower, you see the snake hidden underneath. Like I feel like in our real world, there's a mix of things. Sometimes this kind of thing is symbolized differently or disguised to each other. So anyway, at the end, we live together and die at the same way and back to the nature again. That's an idea of the work of this piece. And again, I work in the symbol. I use a lot of nature, animal symbolic in the body of work, because I feel like this kind of things that I use a lot of object things that kind of faded away, and my soul and my life right now is different. It's different from that time that I used to live in the big city. I feel like nature is really important to raise the children in the small community, or the community have like a lot of nature, a lot of parks, a lot of tree. That is it's a gem to live a life like that, to have the healthy life, to live in the beautiful nature, smell and breathe in the good air. Like if I raise my kid in the Bangkok, and I feel so scared right now. I don't know, when I went back home, I feel like I don't think I can live there anymore. Like I feel different now. Yeah.
Thank you, Kritsana. Does anybody have any questions or comments? And I'll I think we've wrapped up sort of a preview of Kritsana's art. If anybody wants to add anything or ask anything of Kritsana. No, okay. I see Teresa is typing something, so we'll just kind of hold off for a second and while she's finishing typing, but
I don't think I'm typing anything, but I do have a question for Kritsana.
Yeah.
After seeing all of your beautiful work, I'm wondering what type of mediums that you plan on working with for a bench, or maybe put this question out to Jennifer and Rose, like what type of materials do they see that would be complementary to the site that's being proposed?
I was thinking right now I will work with like something solid, something that it can stay for long, and vibrant color. I was thinking about metals work, also maybe some chrome pipe, and you did mention about stained glass. I might step back to thinking about something some line, have some space, more silhouette, something like that. Mostly I was thinking to work with metals and doing some, what is it called, powder coat painting, you know, like I used to send my work into like industrial paint, like the automobile paint, something like that, a little bit more solid and really clean and solid, vibrant color, something like that. Yeah, I think I was thinking that to do like a metal work, because I think the metals or aluminums or thing is can last long and easy to maintain. I feel like if I use something, example, fiberglass, wood, you know, we have extreme weather, the wood might split, thing might happen, you never know. You know what I mean? Fiberglass, I work with fiberglass a lot, so it's crack sometime. If you don't have inside good structures, or you know, like, you know, solid enough, sometimes if you get hit with something, it's might like cracking apart, and it's really hard to fix, you know. Yeah, I was thinking something more metal work, and the form of the work should be like a little bit more simplified and have elements of geometric and some kind of, you know, silhouette and solid together looking, and have also textures. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's similarly like that I do in my painting, and also like my sculpture that I did earlier before. As you see, you know, you can see some lines, some mix of things together. Yeah, but mainly I think I'm gonna do metals, I think.
Great, thank you, Kritsana. And Jennifer, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I have two questions. The physical maintenance of the bench, is the RMWB taking responsibility for that? Should it need fixing or parts fall off?
I can take that question. Yes, the our public works department will be taking over the maintenance piece of it, and the artists, they will submit all the information, the warranty, that sort of a thing, once the project is completed. So we will take on that piece to ensure it is maintained. And
okay, on that. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, we're looking at about a 15-year for the piece. Yeah.
If
Oh,
you
15.
any
15
local
replacement?
fabricators, just let me know.
Okay.
In Anzac, if anyone like the Wilder or some technician in Anzac that really local want to work with me, yeah, just give me a recommendation, will be awesome.
Oh, I really like that, because when we were talking about having like support tactile, my first thought was like helping kids, like the kids would help paint or whatever. But you're right, there's also a component of having, you know, the adults participate. I think that's a great idea, and I do have a recommendation for a welder.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, if you have someone to can do that, will be
Okay.
awesome. Thank you.
Location, where are we planning on putting this?
What is it?
Did you hear me? Oh, location. Where is this bench planning on going?
The bench will be placed in the Anzac Community and Garden Park.
In the community garden park. Okay, so where the old church was? Okay.
The Willow Lake Community Association probably be involved too.
Okay, community garden park. Okay. All right. I don't know if this is a question for the RMWB, maybe Rose. Rose, are you guys planning on moving the garden beds, or are they staying there?
We're hoping to have them moved.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, maybe that'll be a conversation we'll have to have with the other boards too, that when the bench comes in, we have like that walk area where all the flags are, and then we'll have all this open space, what it looks like long term for that area, and then how it fits with Kristan's view from a
I think to come to that, we'd have to meet with the Willow Lake Community Association.
I
Yeah.
see Nicole has her hand up in the air. Maybe she wants to contribute to this.
Yes.
I just wanted to quickly add to Rose mentioned earlier, memorial for the church. So that's something we're in the early stages right now, planning for an engagement, and also adding the community garden boxes in as a discussion as well. and what we should do with those moving forward. So that's upcoming. That's coming soon.
Yeah, and I think it's important to highlight that, you know, the benches wouldn't be actually installed in the community for, you know, at least a few months, but we would definitely ensure that it's the right place for it before installing it. And Jennifer, just to let you know, if you do have a recommendation for anybody who can help with the fabrication, an adult, so to speak, who wants to help out, I just put an email in the chat box there, participate@rmwb.ca. You can contact us there, or feel free to reach out to me personally. That's fine too, and I can share with the project team. Awesome. Okay, this has been such a fruitful conversation. I'm loving it. So we're kind of reached the end of sort of the presentation piece of this. And just so you know, we're in the public engagement piece of this right now, and our current timelines are February 16th to March 9. But in light of Jennifer's comments earlier in the conversation, there may be some flexibility with that. So I'm going to do a little bit of digging on my end and see what that might look like. Once the engagement is wrapped up, I'll be doing a what we heard report, which sort of encompasses the information that we're going to be hearing through online, through conversations, through this session here, and sharing that with Kritsana so that he can have all that information to work with, and we'll put a version of that on the website. Then we'll let the artist get to work, so get into design and fabrication, which will take a few months. And then the target right now is installing in late summer of this year. And keeping in mind that if we install in Anzac, the time for installing at Kiem Community Park might be a little bit different pending construction of that. And maybe Faithia, if you want to add any other pieces to that, please feel free to. Hopefully I've covered it sort of at a high level.
No, you've covered.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and also in the chat box, I shared a link. If you want to add any, if you have any further ideas, or if anybody's watching this later on, you can go to that link and add it online. Or Rose, if you or any of your friends, maybe internet is limited in your area, or you're not maybe comfortable with that, if anybody watching, you can actually call the Pulse line and phone into Pulse and share your information over the phone. And then the Pulse, the customer service agents will actually input that data into our online platform for you. And I will enter the Pulse number right now. And there is a 1-800 number, which I'll just look up in a moment here. But I see Kritsana and Jennifer both have their hands up.
I'm just have a question. So when should I work on this sketch, like the design? I'm gonna wait until the March 9 to get engaged more a little bit, or like to go to the Anzac first, or should I work now and show the committee after, or when should I start the design?
If you are feeling inspired, feel free to start, you know, putting together your ideas. But I think that as we had discussed maybe in a previous meeting, we really want to make sure that we're getting all the feedback that we can from the community before you really get started. So we don't want to be a little bit too, you know, excited. We want to make sure that we're getting all the feedback that we're going to get. And then when that's wrapped up, you're free to start designing and being an artist. Okay, and now I see Jennifer has her hand up.
Yeah, I think that when you do come to Anzac for the engagements, whether it's official or kind of casual, definitely having some sort of visuals, I know help, especially our youth, but our adults kind of visualize more. I know that conceptual art is not something that we have in the rural areas. So it might, if we just rely on terms such as functional art, conceptual, and then using art resources, it might not be as effective as, you know, pictures that you've drawn. And these are my ideas. It might just be a little bit more authentic with the conversation, because there might be an area of understanding. So we're going with that.
Yeah, it's easy for people to see like like the image of the idea of artist first, then maybe they can give the comment that okay, you happy, or okay, this may be not right, or maybe you can change. I can change something with it first. I can come up with a like a rough sketch or some image ideas, just a rough ideas, and they can refine it for me. Like I give you a plate of food, and then you can give me a comment like, is it good? Should I add more this and that? Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that'll be best for the community. Before we end it, I just wanted to say I've participated in lots of engagements now throughout the last couple of years. Will, this is a fantastic engagement, very authentic. You made this place very, very welcoming for questions, comments. So you're doing a very good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Kritsana, thank you so much for your time and for listening to us and for just absorbing our information. And I'm really excited.
Really helpful. Is really helpful. And it's some part of it is kind of get into the idea that what I'm doing, like, I'm always in touching with cultures, ancestors, like something in touching into the soul, because I grew up more raised as Buddhism and Hinduism. So I have been exposed to a lot of different, and I grew up in a Muslim neighborhood. So I went to the mosque with my friends. So it's really, really good conversation and really nice information that I got from you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing. I know Rose has left us and Sharon has too, but we're really happy that they came out as well. Hoping that people will watch this after the fact when we post online too, and looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say. Thank you. This has been super fruitful conversation for everyone, and I feel like this was very successful. So thank you all. And we're going to wrap it up now. If you have any questions or want to follow up, you can reach us at the participate email I mentioned earlier, or here's my work email as well. And you can reach out to me directly if you have any questions or want to add anything else. And that is a wrap. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. And you're also welcome to join us for the Sapray Creek session, which is on Monday at 6 p.m. Links are in the Facebook event and on the Participate webpage. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.